Hello, hello. How we doing today? It is your boy ROD, and this is the first episode of my podcast, Rod Watched It. And you might be thinking, hey, what does he mean by Rod Watched It? Exactly what I just said. I watch a lot of TV in my life, so I'm like, I might as well make this into a big thing. I'm always talking about TV with my friends or people at work. I've even been to watch parties in big settings. So with that being said, I'm like, I might as well just make it a big thing and tell the world what I'll be watching on TV because it's honestly a topic of conversation. Honestly, I see people at work all the time talking about what they're watching on TV. So I'm like, I might as well do the same thing, you know? I might as well do the same thing. And everybody does podcasts. And instead of me being a man who picks up a podcast to talk shit about women or children or the plight of men, you know, I'm gonna do it about something that I feel is a little bit more fun, and it's gonna be about television because people have opinions on these things, especially the way people act, the directors, the direction, different things and different nuances inside of these shows and movies that we all watch that people would love to talk about. So I'm like, might as well talk about it on here. All right? Okay, cool. So just to give a little, yeah. So just to give a little background, just to give a little background about myself and what I do, and not really what qualifies me, because the only thing that qualifies me to speak on this is the fact that I'm a fan of movies. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I mean, I did go to media school, Illinois Media School. Shout out to y'all. Ooh, sorry. Shout out to Illinois Media School. They did teach me a couple things, a lot of things. Honestly, I'm honestly recording this podcast because of the things they taught me. So shout out to Illinois Media School. Another thing that I feel like qualifies me is I'm a self-proclaimed creative. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Now, everybody, not everybody, people have given me compliments before about the things that I do that are creative. My video editing, my writing, different little things like that. People have given me compliments on, so I do take those into consideration with me doing this podcast. But just like most people, I am a normal person who live their everyday life, who goes to work, who watches TV like a motherfucker, and truly. I feel like these big corporations, especially in the Hollywood film world, maybe if they took the time to actually consider what the fans want on TV, TV would be so much fucking better. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. There was a time, especially post there was a time where when the writers for Hollywood, they were striking, and during that time, TV was so ass. TV was so ass. It was almost unbearable. And ironically, it was kind of a little bit when it was like towards the end of the peak of COVID. So it's like, they had not they had the excuse, but the excuse was perfectly fine and it was there. But it's like we really don't want to go back to that brown age of cinema where everything was just so bland and boring and just not something that we wanted. And you know what I realize nowadays when I watch TV is that these people were writing. They never stopped writing. They just could never release anything, get anything into production. Because you have shows that are fucking hilarious, in my opinion, that are being dropped in 2024 and 2025. And it's like, where was this? But they couldn't do anything because they were on strike. So maybe if these corporations took into consideration what the people who are watching their shows want, TV would be better, right? And with that being said, this platform will be one of those spaces where people can admit how they truly feel about the things that they watch on TV. Whether they like it, whether they don't like it, whether they enjoyed it, whether they didn't enjoy it, whether they thought it could have been a little bit better, and this part was good, and this part was bad, and that part was, all these little things, all of the things that people discuss amongst their friends and their family or even with themselves about television and movies that they watch. That's the point of this podcast, to have that conversation so we can express, hey, this is what we like to see, this is what was good with this, or this is what was bad with this. It's basically a review of the media that we see all the time. It's basically a review of the media that we choose to consume, that we choose to talk about, discuss, converse, and analyze. That's basically what this podcast is. It's an analyzation of the things that we choose to consume visually. And with that being said, we're going to head into our first topic. Our first topic will be about a movie. This episode is going to have, I'm probably going to base the episodes off of a ratio of maybe 3 to 2. So it could be 3 shows, 2 movies, 3 movies, 2 shows, or 4 in 1. Today we're going to be doing a 4 in 1. The first movie that I want to talk about was The Monkey. I don't know if anybody has seen The Monkey. It is a Hulu movie starring Theo James. And well, I don't know if it's I don't know if it's Hulu movie. Hold on. All right, and with that being said, let's head into our first topic. Our first topic will be about the movie The Monkey. The Monkey is a American comedy horror film directed by Osgood Perkins based on the 1980 short story The Monkey by Stephen King. Um the plot really, to me, it's a okay plot. It's not a plot where I feel like it was strong enough for it to be like a wow of a movie. The idea that, two brothers who experience trauma from this monkey who bangs a drum is a little crazy to me. Now, reading it, I could see how it could have that wow factor. Watching it, I don't know if it came over that way. Theo James is a fantastic actor, in my opinion. I just don't think the movie was justice for him. Now, I'm not saying that I don't like the movie. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is the movie just wasn't for me. I do think that, the kills were overkills, and I'm not a big fan of overkills unless it's Final Destination. We could talk about that another day. But unless it's Final Destination, I'm not a big fan of overkills. And I feel like the movie had a bunch of overkills that was just, sort of not necessary. Um, I guess they were like trying to do what Final Destination did to an extent. And I'm not saying that they went in thinking of Final Destination. I'm just saying that, a lot of people always have that movie in the back of their mind when it comes to horror because they've taken the extreme deaths so fucking far. So I feel like they were just taking that and just trying to put a spin on it to where a monkey was the cause of it. And I'm not really too fond of that. I don't know. I'm just not that fond of it. Also, one of the brothers being the bad guy, then the other brother being the person who has to stop the other brother. I just don't, to me that's just not a plot where I was just like wowed over, you know? And then at the end of the movie, basically what happens is the man and his son gets away with the monkey in tow. The very monkey that he wanted to like not even have his possession in the first fucking place. It's just weird to me because it's like you didn't want to be responsible for this monkey in the beginning of the movie. Now you want to be responsible for it because your brother tried to blackmail you over it. It's the plot is just all over the place for me, and it's not something that I would probably catch myself recommending to other people, even though it was recommended to me by one of my people. So shout out to you for recommending it. But I already had that conversation. I do like the idea of Theo James playing twins. I do think 2025 was a time for a lot of actors to show the range that they had. I just don't think the range was that much. It just wasn't much to be shown. Like one brother was trying to portray this whole bad, evil, I'm this person, like I'm this bad guy type of deal. And the other one was just like so frantic all the time, in my opinion. And I just that's not brothers to me. That's not brothers to me. And we're gonna talk about another actor playing twins in a minute, so I can show you the contrast that I mean. But yeah, I just don't think that it was portrayed as well as people wanted it to be. Now the movie has good reviews, positive reviews, and you know I'm sure that Stephen King movies will always have, not always, but movies like that will always have a positive review to me. But it's just not something that I was like, oh my god, over, like, no. Especially considering the fact that 2025 had a lot of bangers when it comes to these movies. This just wasn't one of them. So I think an earlier release actually justified it because it was one of those movies where you kind of had to get it out the way. Um, I do like the idea that the Pale Horseman, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, did make like a little cameo. And it's weird to say that an entity that doesn't exist made a cameo, but that's exactly what the fuck happened. And I guess it was just like showing destruction is imminent in that, neighborhood or whatever. Like that figure was basically like destruction is happening here, which is fine, but it's like, okay, die, like, okay, die, what's next? And I feel like that's what the movie always left me lingering with. It was always a what's next in this movie type of deal. So yeah, overall, I rate that maybe like a 6 out of 10, even though it was, positive reviews from all these critics. For your boy, for ROD, for Raw, I watched it, it's a 6 out of 10. Moving on to the next movie, which is Sinners. All right. Sinners is probably my favorite release of 2025. And me being a black man who loves movies, who loves horror movies, who loves vampires, it was like kind of made for somebody like me. And I watched it like maybe 4 or 5 times. Three of those times were in theater. One of those times were on 70 millimeter screen. So I am one of the few who saw this movie on a 70 millimeter IMAX screen, and I'm so happy that I did because it just made everything so much better. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But to get back to, focusing on the episode, Sinners is about, oh shit. Sinners is about two brothers, twins, Smoke and Stack, played by Michael B. Jordan, who opened up a speakeasy in rural Clarksville, Mississippi, 1930s, that ends up getting infiltrated by a vampire, right? So the plot itself, it doesn't sound like it could be as interesting as, one would think it could be. But what I like about this movie is all the nuances and the homages and the odes that Ryan Coogler decides to put in this movie to this is a movie for black people, right? Ryan Coogler does this thing where he puts little nuances and different homages and odes to the black community in his movies, and I love it. Every time I see it, I'm like, I know. You get what I'm saying? And I love that he does that. Some of the things, even in the beginning of the movie, prior to the vampires and all of that coming into play, some of the things he did was, when you see Smoke and Stack dressed up to the motherfucking dressed up in they suits and they wooty woos, that's something that black people always took pride in, especially in Mississippi, because of the fact that we weren't allowed to do that. So when you saw somebody doing it, it was kind of like, I see you, brother. I see you, brother. So little stuff like that where I'm like, that's an homage to black people always want to look their best because we had to look our best. Stuff like that, or even him having the Asian family in there, or the girl who was 25% black in there, and that being a topic in the movie, and that being part of her character's arc, stuff like that, little things like that, where I'm like, okay, this movie is already being layered for us before we even get to the vampire part. The idea that Smoke and Stack can leave and causes trouble and come back with no one knowing, and them still being able to do the things they do, and only one person really knowing because she has the intuition. And even her character, I want to get her name right, so let me go look that up really quick because it's kind of hard to pronounce. Her name is Wanmi Musaku, okay? Even Wanmi Musaku's character, the spiritual lover of Stack, looking on his face and being like, who did y'all fuck over in Chicago to send y'all last back to Mississippi? Even little things like that where the people who love you, you can't hide anything from them because they know you. Things like that, those relationships are being layered for us before we even got to a speakeasy. Well, I'm not gonna say before we even got to a speakeasy, but before that speakeasy was built and everything was taking place, he layered these relationships for us. So when they started to break down, it would be a little bit more emotional and intentional. Why we saw at the beginning what we saw. Does that make sense? So to me, that's a fantastic thing to think about when it comes to writing. What are these relationships between these characters? What's the importance of them? I feel like a lot of people in movies don't have that, and they don't even realize that they didn't have that until the movie is already out. It's like you don't even these characters don't even take the time to exploit themselves. These people, these actors, don't take the time to explore these characters to see what's the nuances in this relationship with this person, what's it in this one in the relationship with this person, what's it with this person. Even the way Smoke and Stack act differently towards Preacher Boy, but still act the same towards Preacher Boy was another thing where I was like, damn, that is so raw to me. It's just, and when you get to the end of the movie, it plays back to the beginning of the movie on how they treated him like a brother. You know, I'm just sitting here thinking about the movie. The movie just so damn good. It's just so damn good. Like the acting was amazing. Miles Catan playing Preacher Boy. Michael B. Jordan playing two twins. Haley Stanfield playing Mary, and her even having that ancestral fight within herself as Haley Steinfeld, and then bringing it over to Mary. Even though whatever, it was still good to me. That part of the movie still played a fucking role. It was a key factor in the movie because it kind of showed you how like the relationship between Stack and Annie, how it got to where it was, which was where it was to the point where it was deteriorating that way. So overall, I think Sinners is probably my favorite release of 2025, and I think that a lot of thought was being put into Sinners. The ending, even with I want to say his name is Jacko Dirty, Jacko Hurdy, or Jacko something, Jack something. Jack O'Connell. Sorry, Jack O'Connell. Jack O'Connell being Remick, and the idea of the Irish who are also persecuted in their state and faced persecution during this time as well, coming over and infiltrating black spaces and stuff like that. Those are two. That's one topic itself. What we could talk about for 20 minutes because that is history. I feel like a lot of history was being put into this movie and a lot of thought process being put to this movie from not only the director but to the characters as well. And that's something that you have to value because a lot of people don't do that anymore. A lot of people think a lot of people think that they're just a shit to the point where they can just come on and play this character and don't have to do the research, the homework for it. And I feel like Michael B. Jordan did the homework for Smoke and Stack. Miles Catan did the homework for Preacher Boy as someone who is the child of a preacher who basically life has basically been picked for him, but that's not what he want to do. Stuff like that. Little nuances like that led to this whole big night happening. It was amazing. One of my favorite things that I do, one of my favorite things that I did appreciate about this movie is how Smoke and Stack treated Preacher Boy like their third brother, and he even realized that himself. Especially towards the end when, well, really quick, the part where Smoke and Preacher Boy have that talk about Preacher Boy playing music, and Smoke is basically like, "Nah, you done playing music. It's over with for you." And Preacher Boy is like, "Nah, it's not over with for me. I'm gonna play the music that I want to play, whether you like it, whether my daddy like it, whether anybody like it. This is gonna happen. And if I got to be on my own to do that, that's what's gonna happen." That is a little brother talking to the big brother, right? That is the younger brother saying, I'm getting grown and I'm tired of y'all trying to tell me what the fuck I can and cannot do. And that's something that we have to acknowledge, that the fact that that's an emotional barrier itself. That's something that people really have to take into consideration when they're talking about someone like Preacher Boy and someone like Stack, because Stack is the brother who's always in control. So when he loses that control, especially over somebody like Preacher Boy, who he just knew wouldn't go against the grain, it kind of sets in stone what the fuck is happening here that Stack basically ends up feeling even when his brother, his blood brother, twin brother passes away. Even when he gets to playing Stack and Stack relationship with Mary, he knows like as a black man, I can't be with you no matter how black you may think you are, no matter if you want to be a white woman or not, I cannot be with you because it's just not safe for you. And I love you too much for me to put you in that position. That's a decision that a man has to make. And you know how fucking long and hard of a decision that is to make as a man, especially when you love somebody. You have to leave them alone because you might be the downfall of them. That's hard to fucking fight. That's hard to come across. And also another thing at the end when Smoke and Stack are fighting, and then Remick and Preacher Boy get into their little, and then Smoke comes in and saves Preacher Boy and tells him to get away. When I hear Smoke tell Preacher Boy, run, run, run to the sunlight, run to dawn. To me, that's like a sacrifice. Essentially, he sacrificed himself so that Preacher Boy could live. I don't see too many people sacrifice himself unless it's for a brother. And I feel like even Smoke, he saw that he lost his brother, and when Annie told him he's gone, he's not coming back. Even when he did come back and he realized my brother is gone, he took that emotion and that feeling and he put all of that into wanting to protect Preacher Boy. That's what brothers do, you know? And this is what I mean to go back to the previous movie, which is The Monkey. This is what I mean when I say it wasn't shown as well as it could have been because there are too many things where the brotherhood should have been shown throughout the movie and not at the end of the movie because with Stack, with Smoke, with Preacher Boy, that shit was shown. It was never a question on whether loyalty lied ever. Ever. And that's what I appreciate about Michael B. Jordan doing what he did with this character because it's hard to play twins. And it's hard to play twins who are close. And these twins were close. These twins were close. And I feel like, sometimes it might be a little difficult to try to get them away from each other as one person. And I feel like he did a great job as tearing them apart from one person, but also being able to show that they are brothers and twins at the end of the day, you know? And just the different things that happen in Center, the music, the scene where Coogler crossed multiple generations. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw that scene, it did confuse me at first. But then I was like, I get it. The second time I saw it, I get it. Music has always, music has always combined us as a culture, generation by generation by generation. That's why in the 90s, you could hear a sample from the fucking 60s. In the 2000s, you can hear a sample from the 80s. In 2010, you can hear a sample from the 80s. You can hear a sample from almost any decade. And because your grandma played it, because your aunt played it, because your granddad played it, because your mom played it, it's connecting you to that. And I think that Ryan Coogler did a great job at making sure that black people were connected, especially that one specific scene. All right. And all in all, I would rate Sinners I rated it, ain't gonna lie, I rated like a 9.6. And one of my favorite things about Sinners, one of my favorite scenes in Sinners was the end when the KKK showed up and thought they were gonna shoot up these people who just fought fucking vampires all night. But they got their ass sprayed down by one black man. That was that was so good to see. That was so good to see. I have no idea. That was so good to see. I was so happy when he shot that man after that man said, "Please, please, no," and he gave him a cigarette and he shot his ass. I said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much," because that's what we needed. We needed that. I appreciate that, and yeah, even the historical context of it with you know the Asian family. I had no idea. This is my ignorance showing. I had no idea that back in the 30s that some Asians built their shops in black neighborhoods because they were also not allowed to build their shops and shit in white neighborhoods. So it just goes to show you like the coalition has always been there, and when it's there and it's strong, people they decide to break it apart. So yes, all in all, I'll rate Sinners like a 9.6 out of 10. The only thing that I feel like Sinners might have liked is hmm hmm I don't know. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I can't say what Sinners liked. Can't say. So maybe it's a 10. Tens across the board. All right, and the next topic of conversation is the movie Drop. Now, Drop is about a woman who goes on a date, and on that date, Drop is about a woman. Drop. Okay. Drop is about a woman who goes on a date. And on that date, she starts receiving random digi drops, kind of like, airdrops, essentially. She basically starts receiving these little digi drops of threats, right? And one of the things that she receives is someone saying, "Hey, you need to go into this man's briefcase, the man she's on a date with. Hey, you need to go into this man's briefcase and you need to um hold on. Hey, you need to go into this man's briefcase and you need to destroy the SD card that he has because the SD card that he has can incriminate the person who I work for, right? So because this man is sending her these digi drops, threatening her with the murder of her son, to destroy this man's SD card, she has to sit there on this date and entertain not only the man that she's on the date with, who is a little suspicious of her because he like, what the fuck is going on? She also has to entertain the man who was sending her digi drops of, you know, different little things. Especially one of the bigger things, she also has to deal with this man sending her digi drops of her own home, pictures of her own home, videos of her own home, telling her, I have someone at your house ready to kill your babysitter and your child. So I think the thriller-est part, because I want to say it's scary, but it's not really scary. So I think the thrillerist part about this movie is the idea that you can't do anything besides what you're currently doing and the thing that you've been told to do, or it's over with for your child. And one of the things that I feel played a big part in her decision to do this was the trauma that she already faced. She has the trauma of her husband being murdered. No, not murdered, killed himself. But the public thinks that she did it because she is the only person who was in the room with him at the time of his death. He shot himself in front of her because she was going to leave him. And because that happened, and she did not want to lose her child as well as the person who had been abusing her, killing himself, she felt like she had to sit there and let that man basically threaten her with murder again, the trauma of murder again, to get an SD card because his client did not want to be, put on Front Street about the best that he'd been doing. Real quick though, I just want to say that movies like this always has me thinking that shit like this can actually happen in public. Like, you're a fool if you think that Donald Trump didn't have somebody. You're a fool if you think that Donald Trump didn't have somebody fucking follow before. Like, you're crazy as fuck if you never thought that, especially as somebody with money. Anyways, So yeah. The acting is okay. I'm not gonna lie to you. The acting is okay. I do how the movie progresses overall, and I do like the fact that, we see more than one death. We see more than one death, and it's never the people who are directly involved. It's always the people who are involved on the outskirts of the actual, issue at hand. Um, it- Considering how it wasn't a big cast, so they didn't even have to do that much, when it comes to screen timing and dialogue. Everything mattered a little bit more because of the fact that there wasn't that many people who had to be involved in the situation. So you got the person who is sending the messages, the person she's on a date with, her, a piano, a pianist, sorry, a pianist, the bartender, and the babysitter. And most of these people aren't even actually involved directly in what's going on, besides herself, the man she's on a date with, and the pianist. I mean, and the person who's sending her the digi drops. So, with that being said, I do think that the range and the acting was more so focused on the facial expressions and the actual dialogue itself, and not more so of the action of what these people were doing, even though that played a part as well. So little things like, the mom, little things like the mom flipping a script on the man who's sending her the digi drops, by the whole shot situation. If you watch the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't, what happens is the man, she finds out who the man is that's been sending her the digi drops. The man buys a shot for her and the man she's on the date with. One of the shots has poison in it. The woman, the man tells the woman, you either take the shot or you continue to do what I told you to do. In the midst of that, she did throw a switcheroo and she ends up giving the man who's been sending her the digi drops the shot. He takes that shot. The man she's on the date with, he's like, what the fuck is going on, basically. And she like, this is the man who was sending me the digi drops. And he don't even know that I just flipped the script on him, and the shot he just took is the shot that he wanted me to take or you to take that had poison in it. So now this is where shit hit the fan because they're on the top floor. So they're on the top floor, the window get bust out, and now everything inside the restaurant is going haywire. So like the damn, what is it called? I feel like it's called wind chill. It's not wind chill. I want to say the wind index. I don't know. Whatever it is, the wind index was really fucking strong, and basically shit gets to blowing around. She falls out the window. He falls out the window. People fall out the window. It gets really crazy, and she gets home. She has to save her child. She ends up saving her child. Anyways, I like how the script gets flipped. I like how the mom takes control of a situation where she was being controlled. And I think that is a a nod to the character itself overcoming something. Because in the movie, she's abused by her husband to the point where when she decides to leave him, he kills himself. She is, I'm not gonna say verbally abused, but she is accosted by the man she's on the date with because she's like, what the fuck are you doing? She's also being harassed by a man she has no idea who the fuck he is about, some digi drops and her client. She's basically being put in so many situations by men that she didn't get to choose herself to be put in. And when she finally does decide to flip the script and be like, okay, you, the man she's on a date with, sit your ass down. You, her ex-husband who killed himself. If you want to kill yourself, do it. You, the man who been sending me digi drops, bitch, you gonna stop. You gonna stop today. And if you don't stop, you're gonna kill yourself. She basically uh she basically just flipped the script and controlled the situation. Oh my god, why can't I talk? She basically just flipped the script and controlled the situations. And that is something that I feel like was really cool to see, especially when you see someone throughout the movie being sort of abused in different ways for so much. When she finally gets her power back and uses it, she she wins in the end. So I do think that movie was pretty good. I would rate it maybe like a 8.3 overall. The only thing that I didn't like was just how slow it was. I do, however, like the idea of someone stalking you, but you have no idea who it is. You can't leave. I like the idea of being trapped. Not for me, because homie don't play that shit. But the idea in the movie of like, it's a movie. So the idea in the movie of somebody being trapped where they can't do anything, but they have free will at the same time, that is like, that puts you on edge. That puts me on edge. So I really did enjoy that aspect of the movie. Last but not least, we're going to be talking about the TV show It's Florida Man. It's Florida Man on HBO Max. Basically, what It's Florida Man is about is a whole bunch of different crazy shit that happened in Florida. And if you know Florida, you know Florida. A whole bunch of crazy shit happening in Florida. The people who it happened to, they tell their perspective of what happened. And my favorite thing about this show is they have real A-list or B-list actors who play these people who are fucking Floridians. Why is there a A-list actor playing somebody from Florida? That's just so funny to me. But the resemblance sometimes can be really uncanny, and you're like, damn, are y'all cousins? Like, it'd be little shit like that. But yeah, the show was cool overall. I do think there needs to be at least maybe 5 to 6 seasons of this show because what the fuck would they be doing down there in Florida? Like one episode, one man got his arm bit off by an alligator, and then just like he just like went on about his day essentially. Like he got his arm bit off, and then he like got lost and they couldn't find him, but he didn't die from bleeding out or nothing like that. He was just like around trying to survive with one arm. And then he got found by somebody. Oh no. Whew. All right. Like one episode is about this woman. She's like a goth type of girl, and her friends went to the cemetery to take pictures. They're leaning on the cemetery, on the tombstones. And why the fuck does a tombstone fall on her? Why the fuck do her friends keep taking pictures? Why they have a whole photo shoot on the tombstone that's on top of her while she's under the tombstone? Y'all, these people is fucking crazy. A man got his arm bit off by an alligator, and he essentially went about his day, but it already seemed like his day was full of fucking crazy shit. So to me, getting your arm bit off and then going and doing some more crazy shit, that's just part of your day. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like you already be doing shit. So this is just part of it. Like this is really just part of you doing shit. You getting your arm bit off and just going on about your day. Crazy. Then that thick neck boy who went viral a couple years ago, he from Florida. Like what? What the fuck is going on? Like it be crazy shit, bro. It really do be crazy shit all up and down that show. If you need you a good laugh while high and drinking some wine or taking shots, little shit like that. If you want to laugh, please go watch It's Florida Man. Cause them people will have your ass thinking, wherever I'm from, I am so grateful that I'm from there. I'm so grateful that I'm from there, not from fucking Florida. And with that being said, that is the last topic of the first episode of Rod Watched It. I hope you made it all the way to the end. I hope I make it all the way to the end of releasing this shit, because who knows if it goes out or not. I'm not even gonna lie to you, chat. I done recorded me several YouTube videos, several podcasts, and I haven't released any of it. But I am really feeling really confident this year about things like this, so hopefully it gets out. Um, I would love the feedback from, the people I love about this. I would love the feedback from the people that I love, people who I talk about different TV shows and stuff with. Anything that you have to say about this podcast, if it's progressive, if it help moves it forward, Please, please let me know. But if you gonna come in this bitch hating, I will get on your ass. Just know that. All right. And that concludes the first episode of this podcast. Peace in the Middle East. Fuck ICE. And we'll see what we watching next week.